Hey everybody, it's Mr. Carrigan. Today we're going to be looking at 2.3 day 2. We're going to continue solving our quadratics with factoring. But now we're going to be looking at, if we look right here, when that a is no longer 1. So we did some of this practice with factoring before, but now it just makes a little bit extra challenge when we go through and do our factoring still. So remember, if a is no longer 1, we have a couple options. We have guess and check. So for example, I'm going to pick one that's going to be easier for guess and check. Yeah, I'm going to pick like this one right here. Guess and check is very easy here because when I look at how this can split up, 3x squared only has one option. It is 3x and x. Negative 7 only has one option. It's a positive and a negative 7. Or sorry, positive 7 and negative. It's a positive and a negative 7 and 1. Okay. So then when I look at what's in the middle, I think this one's a little bit easier to figure out because if it's a positive 20, then I think it's going to be a positive 7. That way, 3 times 7x is going to be a 21x. And then I put a negative 1 here. So that way, that's negative 1x. That can balance out there. When I do the AC method, for example, so if I do like, for example, 5 times 6, so A times C is going to be 5 times 6, that's 30. So I want to find what multiplies to 30 but adds to a negative 17. Okay. That is going to be negative 15 and 2. So negative 15 times a negative 2, negative 15 plus a negative 2. Now I can split up that middle term. So it's going to be 5x squared minus 15x minus 2x plus 6. Then I do factor by grouping at this point. So between 5x squared and 15x, I can take a 5x out of both of those. I'm going to be left with x minus 3. With negative 2x and a positive 6, we don't like this negative sign here, so I'm going to take out a negative 2, and then it's x minus 3. So then I have those two right there, so I got x minus 3, 5x minus 2. So your choice in how you want to factor those, but guess and check and AC method is probably the two best ways to do that. We can do, let's see here. This one is, I think, pretty straightforward. Let's try this one real quick. So I think we got 4y squared will probably be 2y and 2y. And this is where we can be a little bit tricky, but thankfully I think this one's set up well because 4 could split up as 2 and 2 or 1 and 4. So I'm just going to go with 2 and 2, and then 25, I'm going to guess is 5 and 5. And that is 10y and 10y, making me 20y in the middle. And the last one here, don't forget, difference of two squares. These are two perfect squares. So 9x squared comes from 3x times 3x. Negative 64 is going to come from 8 and 8, but I got to do a plus 8 minus 8. That's what happens when I have like a 0x in the middle. All right. So we're going to continue that. We're just going to move on from this one. Check for GCF first. Good, good piece of advice on that one. But let's go ahead and get into the actual solving now. So just like we did before, we're going to make sure it's set equal to 0, which thankfully the first one is. And now we just go through our factoring. So 3x squared, only one way to do that. It has to be 3x and x. Okay. Then I have a negative 8 here. So I got to multiply to negative 8 here. So one positive, one negative. I have plus 10 in the middle. So I think it's going to be a plus right here and a minus here. So then I look at my options. It should be a positive 4 and a negative 2. Because when I multiply that out, that is a positive 12x minus 2x, and that gives me 10x. Okay. So from here, I'm going to use my zero product property just like before. Got 3x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 4 equals 0. So we can add 2, make it 3x equals 2, and then divide by 3, so x equals 2/3. So now with these types of factoring problems, we do get decimals or fractions as our answer. Over here, we just subtract by 4, so x equals a negative 4. All right. For the next one, make sure that, again, it's got to be equal to 0 first. So I'm going to start by subtracting 4p. I'm going to add 5 over. That way that's 0 on this side. So 5p squared minus 20p plus 20 equals 0. Like I said, check for GCF first. The difference here when we do GCF, instead of factoring it out, we can just divide it out. So everything here, including 0, is divisible by 5. So that's going to become p squared minus 4p plus 4 equals 0. Now it's actually one of our other ones from the other day. So we can just go to factoring. So p squared has to be p and p. Positive 4 with a negative in the middle has to be two negatives. Multiplies to a positive 4, adds to a negative 4 is negative 2 and negative 2. Since I'm repeating myself, I don't need to write this twice. So just p minus 2 equals 0. And then when I add it over, I get p equals 2. All right, one last example. Seen a problem like this before, but now we're going to make it a little bit harder because of what's in the front. Okay. So the area of the rectangle is 230 meters squared. So area is equal to length times width. So in this case, that means 230 is equal to 5x minus 2 times 2x. I want to equal to 0, but I also need to make sure I distribute the 2x out to make it into kind of like a standard form quadratic to make it work out better. So 230 is equal to 10x squared minus 4x. Now I can subtract the 230 over. So 0 is equal to 10x squared minus 4x minus 230. Everything here is divisible by 2. 2. So I'll divide it all by 2, make them smaller numbers. 5x squared minus 2x minus 165. From there, this one I'll do as guess and check as well. And yeah. Sorry, let me grab my calculator for that one. That's a big. Oh, I'm missing that one. Okay. Give me a second on that. Sorry about that. Made a totally bad mistake there. So 230 divided by 2 is 115, not 165. Very different. So when I take that, this one's a little bit trickier, honestly. I'm going to take 5 times, and I'm not going to do that. There's only so many ways we can multiply to negative 115. Okay. And that's going to be, I'll just list them all out. We got 1 times a negative 115, negative 1 times 115. And then we can do 5 times a negative 23, negative 5 times 23. So I think we're going to do this one here. I'm going to add to a negative 2. Or sorry, no, I don't want that. Okay. So with our guess and check idea, I think it's going to lean towards these. With this number in the middle, I know it should be a 5x and an x. And then I'm leaning towards a minus 5 and a positive 23 here. Because if I do this, oops, forgot the x. Because that is a negative 25x. That's a positive 23x, and that gives me negative 2 in the middle. Okay, so we're good. So if I split these up, I got 5x plus 23 is equal to 0. X minus 5 equals 0. So we can subtract that over. 5x equals a negative 23. Divide by 5, and I get negative 4.6, or negative 23 over 5. Here we add 5, and we get x equals 5. Realistically, this would create negative side lengths here. So we're not going to include that one. Our one and only answer is x equals 5. And that's all we wanted was the x equals 5 here. If it wants the length and width, then length is equal to 5 times 5 minus 2, which is going to be 25 minus 2, giving me 23 meters. And the width then would be 2 times 5, giving me 10 meters. Okay. And that's it for today. So again, just more factoring, but now we just have to do it with a not being equal to 1. So it's a little bit harder, but it's still the same concepts. We're applying zero product property after we get equal to 0. Do our factoring steps. It's just whether or not we want to do AC method or guess and check. And then you're going to solve it like normal, but be prepared for some decimal or fraction answers. All right. That's it for today. Take care, everyone.